In this episode, you'll discover 5 practical and deeply honest reminders for navigating midlife transitions so you can begin reclaiming yourself in small and meaningful ways. Welcome to the Midlife Reinvention Podcast, a podcast helping women in career and life transitions achieve clarity on their next steps so they can transform uncertainty into an energizing next chapter. I'm your host, Kavita Ahuja, and the founder of It's My Time Now Coaching. If you're wondering what's next in your career or life, you are in the right place. Through solo and guest episodes, you'll gain practical tips, tools, and inspiration to help you uncover blocks, gain confidence, and be, do, and have what you want. I rediscovered myself after the age of 50, and I know you can too. It's my time now to help you do just that. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to another mini episode of the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. I hope you're doing really well. These mini episodes are meant to be a reminder and pick-me-up for you, distilling some of the key takeaways from my longer episodes. If you missed episode 286, where I interviewed Angela Burke, you can revisit it after this episode. The conversation was real and raw, and after it, I found myself continuing to reflect on something that I believe so many women in midlife are quietly living through, even if they don't always have the words for it. There comes a point in life when what once felt manageable, familiar, or even necessary begins to feel different. Sometimes that shows up through a career that no longer fits, a marriage that has changed, children who have become more independent. It could mean grief or menopause, exhaustion, or simply growing awareness that the version of you who has carried everything for so long cannot keep doing it in quite the same way. Does that resonate with you? What I want to say today is that this does not necessarily mean you are broken or lost or falling apart. It may simply mean that you are being invited into a more honest relationship with yourself. So in today's mini episode, I want to share 5 key takeaways that may support you if you are in a season of transition and trying to find your way forward with more self-trust and clarity. The first takeaway is this: midlife reinvention is often less about becoming someone new and more about reclaiming who you already are. One of the biggest misconceptions about reinvention is it has to mean blowing everything up, starting over completely, or becoming a totally different person. But in reality, this season is often much more about remembering and reclaiming. It is about coming back to parts of yourself that may have been buried under responsibility or caregiving, achievement, people-pleasing, or simply years of doing what has to be done. You may have spent decades being the capable one, the dependable one, the one who keeps the peace, the one who makes things happen. And those qualities are not bad. Many of them are strengths. But over time, if you are not careful, you can become so identified with those roles that you lose touch with the fuller truth of who you are. So reinvention may not be asking you to erase your past. It may be asking you to reclaim the parts of yourself that got quiet along the way. Your voice and your desires, your energy, your opinions, your creativity, and your boundaries and your truth. So a simple reflection for this point is this: what part of myself have I been missing lately? Maybe it's your confidence, maybe it's your playfulness, maybe it's your rest, maybe it's your ambition. Start there. The second takeaway is that you do not need a perfect plan in order to begin. This is such an important one because you may stay stuck not because you lack wisdom or readiness, but because you believe you need to have the whole plan mapped out before you take the first step. You want certainty before action, and you want clarity before movement. You want to guarantee that the next choice will work. But life, especially in a transition, rarely works that way, my friend. Very often, clarity comes from movement and not before it. And this is especially true in midlife, when you may be navigating several layers at once. You may be questioning your health, your identity, your work, your relationships, your purpose, and your future all at the same time. Of course, that can feel overwhelming, but you do not need to solve your whole life this week. You only need to take the first honest step. That step may be a conversation you've been avoiding. It may be saying no to something that no longer feels aligned. It may be making a doctor's appointment or updating a resume. It may be journaling for 10 quiet minutes. And it may be finally admitting to yourself that something is no longer working. So here is a practical question. What is one step I already know I need to take, even if I do not know yet what comes after that? Try not to jump 10 steps ahead. Just identify the one that is yours now. The third takeaway is that the places where you feel depleted often have something important to teach you. One of the things you may be especially skilled at is functioning through depletion. You keep going, you keep managing, and you keep producing, and you keep showing up. And from the outside, it may even look like you're doing quite well. But internally, something feels off. You may feel more resentful or exhausted or less patient and less interested in what used to matter, or more aware that you are carrying too much. You may notice that everything feels like effort, and you may notice that you are saying yes when you really want to say no. And you also may notice that you are tired in a way that sleep alone does not fix. And rather than dismissing it, I think it is important to get curious about it. Because depletion is not always just a sign that you need a vacation. Sometimes it is a signal that the way you've been living or giving or holding things is no longer sustainable. Sometimes it's pointing you towards a boundary that needs to be set, a grief that needs to be acknowledged, a health issue that needs attention, or a truth that has been waiting patiently for you to finally hear it. A gentle exercise for this point is to ask yourself, where in my life do I feel the most drained right now? And what might that be trying to show me? For example, if you feel depleted every time you are with a certain person, that might be information. If you feel depleted by always being the one who goes along, that may be information. If you feel depleted by work that once energized you, that is information also. You don't have to judge it, just notice it. And the fourth takeaway is that saying what you need out loud can be a turning point. This one may sound simple, but it is deeply powerful. You may be used to thinking about your needs privately, minimizing them internally, or overriding them altogether. You may feel tired or frustrated, sad or overwhelmed, but instead of naming it clearly, you push through it and soften it or explain it away, or tell yourself it's not a big deal. But there is something important that happens when you begin to speak the truth of your experience out loud. When you say, I need rest, it lands differently. When you say, I'm not available for that, it becomes real. When you say, this isn't working for me, you begin to hear yourself again. Speaking the truth interrupts the old patterns, and it makes your inner reality harder to ignore. And very often it becomes the bridge between awareness and action. So here's a simple practice for you. Take one thing you've been carrying silently and say it out loud today. Not in your head, out loud. Even that can begin to change something. And the fifth takeaway is this. Small acts of self-honoring matter more than you think. Sometimes it is easy to assume that unless you make a huge change, nothing is really changing, but that's not true. Very often, the beginning of transformation is quiet. It may be deciding not to over-explain your no. It may be asking for help instead of automatically handling everything yourself. And it may be stopping the apology that usually comes after expressing a need. It may be going to bed earlier or rescheduling something or speaking up in a meeting. booking the appointment, taking the walk, writing down the truth, or admitting that you want more. These may look small from the outside, but they are not small at all. They are acts of self-return. They are ways of telling yourself little by little, I matter here too. And that is why I think midlife can be such a powerful season. Not because it is easy, often it is not, but because it invites a level of honesty that can change everything. You begin to realize that different does not mean failure, that grief does not mean weakness, and that needing rest does not mean laziness, and that choosing yourself does not mean abandoning everybody else. It means including yourself in the life that you are building. So, as you reflect on this takeaway, I want to leave you with this question. What is one small way I can honor myself this week? Not next month, not when life calms down, but this week. Whatever it is, let it count. If you're listening to this and are thinking, this is me, I want you to know that you do not have to figure it out alone. I've worked with many women who have gone through these exact kinds of transitions and challenges, and I would love to support you too. If that speaks to where you are right now, you can book a call with me through the link in the show notes, and we can explore what is changing, what is possible, and what your next chapter could look like. And if you know another woman who may be needing this conversation, I hope you will share this episode with her. Until next time, remember, this season may not be asking you to become someone else. It may be simply be asking you to come back to yourself.